welcome to this episode of Rough Talk VR.
Ooh, that was a soft hay.
Yes, I'm trying to,
Tone down the hay.
yeah, why not? So, we got another episode of Rough Talk VR coming at you with another week of VR news.
Dun, 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 dun. VR news.
So a little
Can't
bit.
think of a jingle. I'm trying to.
No, it'll come to us at some point. A little bit of a slower week this week, but we also had Walkabout release their DLC course, so I don't think there'll be any shortage to talk. I'll say.
No, we'll definitely get to that. We'll save that for the end.
Yeah, so we'll get the news out of the way. Maybe we'll take a quick little ad break, and then we'll go right into our thoughts on the newest edition of Walkabout Mini Golf.
Hey, speaking of advertisement, check out the Demio shirt I'll be rocking.
Yep, straight from PAX East.
Oh yeah, dude, I love this shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe next week I wear Golf Plus.
Yeah, I'm a little jelly. You got the black. I got a nice like maroon one. You got the nice black. But whatever. I'm not complaining.
You know, it's who you know. It's a who you know world out there, kid.
So, like I said, a little bit of a slower week, but
Resolution Games, thank you.
yeah. But something that I saw on the news fresh to start it that I love to see, a game that was on App Lab, Battle Talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those physics-based sandbox, kill everything games. This one was known, something that people loved about it was like the modding ability of it. And it showed a lot of promise, but it was on App Lab before. What they label now as a demo, well, it just came out that coming June 1st, they're coming to the official MetaQuest store.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will play it.
Mm-hmm.
It's another, as you would say, what pokey /
Mm-hmm.
no bang bang.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know what you can do with the dead bodies, but
Well, and this one's, there's humans to fight, but you'll very quickly notice when you see the trailer and stuff, there's like goblins and that type of stuff to kill
yeah,
too.
it looks like some magic powers that you present, like gravity powers or something.
Yeah, so this is one that you didn't go into, beforehand. I did a little bit of it, man. I want to say like 8 months ago.
I was gonna say you were real early with it.
It was a recommendation from one of our listeners who sent us our Blade Gordian Keyforge on Instagram.
Dude's got a banging Instagram.
He's getting better and better at welding, but he was a big fan of
Not
that
welding,
game.
Forging.
Forging, I'm sorry.
Shame on you.
Big difference.
Yeah, he's probably. Oh, dude, tell a forger he welds.
But nonetheless, so he was
You just spot welded that knife together, didn't you?
But he was definitely a big fan of it. Recommended it heavily, so I'm sure he's excited to see it hit the official MetaQuest store. But
Yeah.
the graphics in the trailer that they posted, it looked tight.
Yeah, the graphics looked really good. The gameplay, obviously, they're not going to show any jank and everything. Check out our jank. But like I said, I mean, I'm excited to try it, but the genres, I'm cool with it. There's a lot of hack and slash.
I don't mean this negatively at all. I was a little surprised to see it go to the official MetaQuest store. I think it deserves it quality. But I was like, wow, there's definitely no.
I think it's the modding aspect that
sets it aside. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like because I always say it, I'm like, it's okay to do stuff from same people do all the time, but bring something of your own to it that the others don't necessarily already have. So
yeah, definitely the built-in modding sets aside. Now, Blade and Sorcery does have modding as well.
Yeah, but
again, it's a totally different themed game in this regard. This one's much more fantasy themed than Blade and Sorcery.
So it'll be interesting.
One still pains me to see, and I hate to constantly bring it up, but I got to give them a shout out. The one sandbox, hack and slash game that's still on App Lab, and I don't understand it. Swordsman VR. Still can't wrap my mind around it one bit.
Yeah, especially seeing others that are moved on. I can't. I honestly, I don't.
It's one of the top-selling PSVR games week after week after week. It never moves on that chart. Every time that chart comes out of top-selling PSVR games, they're on both the North American and the European list. The game functions very well on the Quest store. I can never wrap my mind.
Developers are cool people.
They hustle. They're constant updates.
Yeah, dude. That's one that
I can't.
There's a few where we'll even speculate. We'll be like, oh, it's probably
maybe frame rates,
this or that, and it's like, no, I just can't wrap my head on this one.
No, so
because it is a great game,
and I don't mean to take anything away from Battle Talent. I'm so excited to see them
just
go.
comparing, game to game. It's like both can say you're somewhat similar in a sense, but yeah, I agree with you 100% on that.
Well, what sets Swordsman VR aside too, because we just mentioned a moment ago, it's no problem for the same genre to go on the store as long as they're setting something different. In Battle Talent, it being the more fantasy theme with the mods. Something that sets Swordsman VR aside is it's not even so much like a physics simulator; it's a sword fighting simulator.
Yes,
and there's none of those on the official MetaQuest store. So that one, man, I'll preach it anytime I get the chance. I hope one day we go on Twitter, or, upload VR.
and see the announcement that they're going to the store.
Yeah, November 2nd or something like that. It'd make my day because at this point, almost every game that we've strongly advocated for
is on the store.
Except that one. That's the last. And that was one that I thought was going to be the first to go.
Yeah. Again,
I don't get it.
You're asking me to speculate. And I like 6 months ago, I had plenty to say, but it's like to not, where I get a little concerned is like if I were a developer and I did have a game that I felt was worthy for the store, not even for ego reasons, like for performance reasons and, the community reasons of it.
A huge following in that game.
And I wasn't able to do it. I would start putting my concentration and energy into a new project, even if it's not VR. It's like, if I remember correctly, these guys have a background that they could take outside of VR.
Well, and I'm pretty sure they're doing very well with Swordsman VR. I don't think that they're doing, like I said, one of the top selling games on PlayStation VR, and even on the MetaQuest version, being on App Lab, they have a huge community.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
but remember when we talked to them, they told the story that Sin Studio, they almost closed down, and they're Swordsman VR was their last ditch.
The Hail Mary.
If they didn't have the PSVR ecosystem as well, I don't know anything about their finances or anything, but I'm sure not being on the official MetaQuest store would be hitting them harder,
If there was no other options. No, absolutely. But then if you couple like, what does it take to be a great selling game on, PlayStation VR? Only because of the amount of headsets sold in a percentage versus, so if they could get on the freaking store, I think their exposure would be so much better. But they've done a great job with what they're doing.
Yeah, building a community. They're one of those games that has checked the box that they're not reliant on Meta to build a community and do game sales and everything like that. But like everything, it's always easier on the official MetaQuest store. And I think there's a lot of people that don't check out App Lab that if Swordsman VR went to the official MetaQuest store, would buy it and be totally satisfied and happy that the game exists. They just don't know about it,
I feel they're being left out of the top rated or...
Oh, it would be top rated.
You know what I'm saying?
In my opinion,
so it's again, my reasons for wanting to see them on the store is obviously exposure, and they're just another example of these games that come from freaking App Lab that are going to hit it and boom, blue check mark for you, baby.
And again, where it bothers me, and I'm not saying that we had anything to do with these games migrating to the official Quest store. But
Zero.
If you go back to a year ago, the games that we were yelling at the top of our lungs, Arcaxer, Iron Guard, they've all graduated except Swordsman. And again, that would have been my first pick. That and Arcaxer too have gone over. So I'm ripping my hair out, but kind of sorry to backtrack.
Dude, there's still a couple more, I think that.
Oh, yeah. There's App Labs getting tougher and tougher. I mean, dude, even on the official MetaQuest store, there's been how many releases this past year? But, to kind of circle back, I'm sorry to get a little sidetracked, huge props to the developers of Battle Talent.
Is that what we were talking about?
Before, yeah. Then we got a little...
went ranty.
A little ranty. It happens sometimes, but, that doesn't take anything away from Battle Talent, us saying that Swordsman should be...
It looks like a good product, and like I said, it looked like it's going to be some pretty smooth gameplay.
It definitely deserves to be on the official MetaQuest store as well. I mean, when I played it, like I said, maybe 8 months ago, there was a lot of potential. But what they showed in their trailer when they announced it, that it's coming on June 1st, the official store, it looks tight. Like I said, graphically, it looks tight. Gameplay looks tight. So there's a lot of these type of games, but I'll be honest with you, I'm still going to give it a spin. I still got to check it out. So,
well, of course, I'll play. Listen, I'll play anything in VR. Even if I'm not saying I don't like this genre. I do. I'm cool.
You go in open minded to anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%. So huge props to them. And then we had talked a couple weeks ago about Among Us announcing the name of their new map and all of that. But they came out with another update. It went live, introducing more moderation tools in terms of like improving the reporting feature for in game. And then I also was reading some stuff about like an AI moderation tool that if it hears some things, I'm not going to say any examples or anything like that. I'll let you use your imagination. It'll flag it to be reviewed by a human later. So it's not 100% reliant on, just the chance that people even know to report.
That somebody in the toxic group was actually offended.
Yeah, exactly.
Which typically, the way I see it play out is there's only one person who's probably going to be offended, and that's the person that the other group is jumping all over.
Well, if anybody hears that and goes, well, wow, that seems a little extreme, you go back to any complaint that anybody has about Among Us VR. It's not about the game. Everybody loves the game. The issue is toxic.
A shit ton of banned little kids,
and that's fine. They're probably
shouldn't be running their stupid mouths anyways.
Probably under 13 anyway.
Yeah. No, when and I don't know if it's true if they're really going to use AI but if conceptually that works, then every multiplayer game should have that embedded in it. That should be some open source. Look, Pop One to name it, Breachers to Contract, name a game.
Well, we've even had people in our Discord mention that, a game that we love, Pop One, like, oh, they went in their first experience in Pop One was just by random roll of the dice. Somebody throwing out some hateful things, and then it turned them off to the game. And that's what happens when people go in and have a toxic first experience. They don't go back into it usually,
Yeah, man.
Even a game that you love.
People are throwing racial shit that they shouldn't be saying just for the sake of shock value and the
just
fact
being
that
an edgelord.
They feel they can get away with running their mouth. But again, I'll go back to if this AI program actually works and can pick up on the fact that, there's certain words that nobody should have to be.
Some toxic things going on in here.
Some words that nobody should have to be privy to while trying to enjoy a game, then I'm all for it. 1,000,000%. And it should be on every single multiplayer game.
Well, and again, specifically in the case of Among Us, that I'd say had a higher ratio of it just due to the attraction of little kids. And little kids go in and they try to be stupid.
I'll make the argument from what I've seen firsthand in multiplayer games. I don't think Among Us is any worse than any other.
Even a game.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Even a game that we love that we're reviewing Wednesday, Breachers. Man, you can get the wrong lobby.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it till we review it.
But it's any multiplayer game. It's with so
that's why I'm saying if there's something that you can actually put into place that'll prevent that, or it happens, but it'll only happen once from that account, then go for it.
And I guess the tool that
I'm not upset by it.
Yeah. So alongside the bullying and harassment reporting option, the update implements Tox Mod. I like the name of it. It's an AI tool from Modulate. That this is from Upload VR coverage of it as well, just to give credit. They said it's an AI tool that flags potential harassment, and then suspected issues are said to be reviewed by a human moderation team as well, leading to a temporary or permanent ban depending on the severity and frequency of the behavior.
Well, that's interesting.
So
it makes it a little interpretive as to like.
Well,
I would think there's certain things if you say you'll be banned, period. But
that's
it
kind
seems
of how
like
I
other
interpret.
things they're just going to nudge you and tell you don't do that shit again. And then what's going to constitute bullying? Is teabagging bannable? Is teabagging
Can
bullying?
you teabag in Among Us? I've teabagged in Breachers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When other games start,
But I teabagged a friend. That's different.
it's not a friend if you can't teabag them,
Right?
Chocolate teabag bandit time.
We'll go back to that again. That was what, last week or 2 weeks ago?
I don't even remember.
But overall, though, I don't disagree with the update. I think it's a step in the direction.
No, it's going to make a more positive place for people to enjoy the game.
Now, do you think that VR is more, less, or the same in terms of inviting in to be toxic in the environment for a little kid or a teenager? You know what I mean? Do you think it's the same as flat screen, more, less?
I think it's less than flat screen, to be honest with you.
Because you're kind of humanized and face to face with it.
And I think again, just like sheer number sales, in comparison to like computer. I think nothing is more toxic in the whole wide world than PC.
PC gaming?
Yeah. That's like, get the hell out. You take the award for the absolute rudest, toxic human beings I've ever seen in my life. And I've been on PC my whole life.
Yeah.
Since
But you know what to
Commodore
expect
64.
when you go into a chat, like a multiplayer game chat room on PC VR. Not PC VR, PC gaming. You know what to expect.
You're going to hear shit that...
Or read shit that's like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your day would have been better off.
Yeah, I agree. I think PC gaming is probably the...
And it almost doesn't, unless it was like StarCraft or, those old games where...
Although there's a big thing with the UFC games on PlayStation. I don't know if it's the same for Xbox. If you go in there and you just light somebody up, you're getting a plethora of There's a good chance that you're getting a plethora of just toxic ass personal messages saying some heinous things. Because I used to play a lot of the UFC games competitively. I'd have people tell them
with today's programs, there's no reason.
People would be like, "You suck, bro. I'm gonna kill you." It's like, whoa! I just beat you in a video game, dude.
Yeah. So I'd say PC gaming is the highest toxicity, followed by flat screen, then followed by...
I was just wondering if
VR.
it would be easier. I don't know. It's something that would be hard to gauge. Just if kids are more, less, or the same amount of compelled to be toxic. I'd argue that it would be less, like you said, but for the reason that
and let's be honest,
you're face to face with somebody.
Running your mouth is different than, although like Call of Duty and shit like that, you'll hear some of the same shit. But when you're just typing, you're just a flat out
or looking at a computer screen.
Yeah,
but when you're in the 3D environment,
keyboard tough guy.
Yeah.
Real world nothing.
I find myself being a lot friendlier. Not that I'm ever toxic or rude, but I usually just don't even talk to people on like flat screen gaming.
No.
But I find myself more willing to engage with a stranger in VR with the full body avatar, face to face, immersed in the environment.
That whole, to me, that's kind of the whole thing. Like it's not flat screen gaming. It is 3D world.
It'd be like bumping into somebody in the street. I'm going to be like, "Hey buddy, how you doing? Like, what's up? Hi." I'm not going to just sit there and stare at you.
I hope you don't run into crowds being like, "Who wants these knuckles?"
Yeah, I used to box people up pretty good in Pop
every
1.
round.
Yeah, my friend. People would. It was funny though. People would engage. It'd be like, "I'll box," and then then all of a sudden,
that's when we discovered when we first started playing the game too that like, oh, because you do that, you're like touching the to like
knuckle
friend
off.
a person,
which I love that.
Why do I have 100 friends?
Yeah,
dude, Pop One has always been great because they've walked that adult humor. I'll say with like the shakes.
And what's good is they're surviving.
Banana, eat the banana.
Shake the shake, yeah.
Shake the shake.
Come on.
They know what's going on.
That's like playing local dojo with the chum gun.
Yeah.
Come on.
Chum gun.
Come on, I'm going to shoot you in the face with my chum gun. Come on.
I'd prefer if you didn't.
That was still a game that I don't think gets the credit it deserves. Loco Dojo?
No,
that
but
one is so fun.
People, and I love when new people discover it and then they write about it or something. It's awesome because it's a fun freaking game, but it's a hidden gem. It's like the true definition of like, holy shit, I played this game and it was friggin' awesome.
You know what my big request with it would be? That I wish that even if it was a setting that you could turn on and off, I wish that the mini games weren't hard locked in on the squares. Because then sometimes I've found that creates, there's a chance that you keep landing on the same areas, especially as people like
have it so every game it's a different mix.
The tile, in my opinion, would be really fun if it was just game square and you land on that and then it rolls a random roulette of whatever game it lands on. I think that would, because there's been times that we play it and you end up playing the same game, sometimes like 2 or 3 times in a row because the same people keep rolling the same thing. But that's kind of neither here nor there. We're not doing a full-blown Loco Dojo review again like we already did, but that's a really fun party multiplayer game. And then kind of on the news of kids or teenagers, this past week, it came out a couple months ago that Meta was planning on opening up Horizon Worlds to teenagers to kind of, expand it to new audiences.
Let them
have fun with world
Yeah.
building, I guess. And just this past week, they unrolled it to teenagers in North America and Canada. So I don't have 1,000 things to say about this one like our last piece of news, but it was news. It was worth mentioning. Could probably fluff up your numbers more by expanding it to different countries because Horizon Worlds is not available worldwide. There's a lot of Europe it's not available in.
It's ironic though. Got Horizon Worlds in your name, but it's restricted.
Yeah, and my understanding of why it's not available worldwide is because of how much they do moderation. Like they have full-time moderators there in order to expand to a new region. Then you need to get people fluent in that language to moderate
Have
that
AI
content.
do it.
Well, we'll see, right?
AI bots are going to be patrolling all over these. Rec Room will be next.
So that's my understanding of why they don't expand worldwide yet. But I just conceptually, I would think that you would expand to new markets before you opened up to teenagers. But what do I know?
They should go to Alchemy Labs for permission to use one of their robots.
And have that be the mod bot.
That's your mod bot. Yeah, goes in there. Smut sniffer.
Modbot would be the best name too, because that fits the alchemy.
What did you say, human? That's freaking awesome. Drag you out of the game.
Yep. Just poof.
Show up out of the sky.
Yeah.
Pop one. George, that's in it down there. Let's go.
I totally think in like 5 years.
I'll bring up my what?
I was gonna say for better or worse, AI moderation, game moderation, like we're seeing theoretically with Among Us, is probably going to be the future.
Well, who knew it was going to happen 6 months ago?
Yeah. Well,
if you had told me, AI is going to moderate these games and weed out the toxic, a game will never have it.
What's that?
Rust.
Well, that would defeat the whole community.
Right? They've actually allowed for a community to go and exist and just be terrible. It cracks me up, man. Absolutely cracks me up.
So yeah, Horizon Worlds available now to teenagers in North America. And
go nuts.
Build, go nuts. Go crazy.
Great.
Have fun.
Enjoy.
They added. I saw something where they are adding sound file. Well, there was already sound file ability to be imported to your worlds you create in Horizon Worlds, but they extended it to, I think it was like an hour or something like that. I was like, oh man, we're getting to the point that we can almost put our podcast episodes in Horizon Worlds. Yeah. That would be pretty cool to have a Ruff Talk world and it just like a playlist of the episodes. That's I try to just like think of a use case to myself.
Just have to wait for it to get there.
Yeah. And then when I saw that update come out, that was probably a couple weeks ago, about, they were just like increasing the creator, quote unquote, functionality of like file size, video size that you can import. And one of those was audio length. So that'd be cool when it can get even longer and longer. And we can just go, all right, here's a Ruff Talk world, it'd be pretty fun. But nonetheless, I know nothing about world building either. One last little piece of news before we, switch over to our walkabout thoughts. There's a funny little thing that happened on Jeopardy last week where a question about the metaverse came up, and nobody knew the answer. Now, I will say, man, the way the question was worded, it was like it's based off of a novel, Snow Crash, and then, a company shortened its name to it. It was a pretty hard question to get, even if you are tech savvy,
You'd be as tech savvy as you want, but if you never read the book,
you would never even think.
How would you know what the answer was?
And like one lady guessed Uber, and I was like, you know what, man? If you had no idea about the context or any, like that was a good guess. That was a good guess. Yeah.
The other guy guessed Avalanche,
which I think his brain went to that
pulling shit out of thin
because
air.
of Snow Crash.
Yeah,
that was 100% Snow Crash. He wrote Avalanche.
Abominable snowman. Just think it all. Rudolph.
But what business was he thinking that shortened their name from Avalanche?
Santa Claus. You like snowy shit.
That's funny. But honestly, I think that there's a lot of people that are VR diehards. If you just walked up to them and read them the question that was asked,
There's no way.
They would go, oh, I don't fucking know.
One could make an educated guess, like some of these people tried.
Well, because there's nothing
unless you read the book, how would you know the answer?
And there was nothing about the question that.
So I'm shocked it was actually like anybody even picked it up as a thing. It's like that's so weird.
Well, and what made it a little difficult too is in the question it didn't specify technology company. It just said, and this company shortened its name off of it. So
could have been anything.
My brain would have been going vacuum cleaners, coffee makers,
Hoover.
Yeah, nothing about it would make you start to think the tech sector.
Dyson. Is it a Dyson?
I did see Palmer Luckey on Twitter, who I always think is one of the best Twitter follows because he'll tell it how it is at any point, and he has it seems like what is a good sense of humor. He was laughing because when it was named Oculus, the VR division of Meta, it was nice when I missed the Oculus name, but nonetheless, at one time years ago, maybe like 2017 or something like that, I don't know the date, there was a Jeopardy question with the answer being Oculus. What is whatever the question, and people actually got it right. So he was like, hey, look at that. People got it right when it was named Oculus, Now, granted, the wording of the question the first time was a lot more friendly.
Unless you read the book, how would you know the answer?
Yeah.
Because the answer is what the Metaverse was called in the book. So, I never read the book. I wouldn't have been able to answer it. I think you admitted you wouldn't have been able to answer it.
Well, again, I'm just thinking of like in that moment,
Google.
My brain probably wouldn't have. I don't know. I could totally see how people blanked on that one. Yeah,
could have been Coca-Cola. How the hell do you know? Avalanche was probably pound for pound the best guess.
I think Uber was the best guess. Avalanche made me laugh because I can't think of any business.
Snow Crash,
But what company were you thinking of that's shortened off of that name?
I thought there was a tech company called Avalanche.
That's not shortened. That's the same exact name.
No, true.
I'm trying to think. Like
Uber, but what would Uber stand for?
I could totally see somebody making up a word like Uber main, like Uberland or something. Uber. I don't know, something in some books. That I'll give that lady credit. She pulled it out. That was a better guess to me than oh man, what did the first guy write? Powder.
Powder. Well, again, Snow Crash.
Yeah. People were so harped on that.
Probably skis. I like fresh powder. That's my guess. Cost me $9,000.
Avalanche is the one that made me laugh the most because Avalanche is a snow crash.
Where he was thinking of all the coke he was going to be doing after the show. Like, oh, powder. That's funny.
Too funny. So, but I'll give the benefit of the doubt on that one. Now, again, I do think that the name Oculus was better than Meta for the VR division. I don't care what Meta calls their whole company, but Oculus had really good name recognition. I still hear people call it Oculus, like in the real world. Now
they always will.
Yeah, I'm on the camp that they should have kept that name, but in fairness, it was a very interestingly worded question. I just call it
Quest.
Yeah,
I'm more like the Q2, Q3. I think it sounds cooler.
I can't get behind the Q.
The Q?
I can't get behind the Q stuff.
I like it.
I could type like that, but I can't talk like that.
Why?
Quest. It's the same amount of quest as one
Q3.
syllable.
I just think it sounds cooler.
In fact, it takes more words to say Quest 2 than Quest. It takes like more effort to say Quest 2 than
going by syllables.
Yeah, but Quest, it's just quick. It flows anyway. Q.
The Meta Quest.
It's like when people walk around and go
Q.
WTF,
Q2.
LOL. It's like, well,
it's the way I am, man.
I can see for typing it, but Q2,
Q3.
I'm
like,
I've
said it before in the podcast.
Like, what are we talking about with financials now? Like, what? My brain would.
You got your Q2s and your Q3s.
Yeah, my brain.
Because sooner or later, them Q4s are going to sneak up on you, but you got to be prepared for the Q5.
I agree with you. I just call it Quest, like when I'm communicating.
Yeah,
it's my Quest. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's it's weird branding at this point because I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say my Meta Quest in real life.
We've said it just fucking around.
Yeah, well, we've said it
but
on
not.
Yeah, and I'll hear people refer
we've
to it.
We've always said it'll always be an Oculus to us. Yeah.
Oculus never die, baby.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's our gang. Oculus for life.
Still got my
OFL.
Still got
OFL's in the house.
Still got my Quest 2 box as well. So, all right, you want to take a quick little ad break and then we'll come back with our Walkabout Mini Golf thoughts?
Do I have an option or are you actually asking me?
If you have if you have something you would like to discuss.
I never knew the option existed.
What would you like to discuss today, sir?
Nothing. I'm good.
Okay. So we'll be
just
back
saying.
with you in just a moment, and our final, well, not our final, with our thoughts
With
on
our thoughts and ratings.
Yeah, woo!
Thoughts and ratings on a no rating episode.
This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design, the leader in MetaQuest and VR accessories. And now you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast. The MetaQuest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever feel things could be a bit more comfortable? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and more, including my two personal favorites, the top version controller grips with added weight and an extended handle, and the Kiwi upgraded Elite strap. Let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. Don't be the guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes to prepare yourself today. After visiting the link in our show notes, make sure to use the promo code RuffTalkVR at checkout, all one word, to take full advantage of your savings. And make sure to click the link in our show notes so the podcast gets credit and you help support us. Remember, whatever you need, Kiwi has you covered.
This episode of Rough Talk VR is sponsored by BetterHelp. Virtual reality gaming is amazing, but let's not forget to take care of our mental health in the real world too. BetterHelp is the world's largest online counseling platform, offering professional, affordable, and convenient therapy. Their licensed therapists specialize in everything from depression and anxiety to relationship issues and stress management. So, if you've been struggling to balance your love for MetaQuest VR gaming with life's challenges, BetterHelp is here to support you. They'll match you with the perfect counselor, tailored to your specific needs, and with the convenience of video, phone, or even live chat sessions, you can get the help you need from the comfort of your own home. As a Rough Talk VR listener, you get a special offer of 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. Just visit betterhelp.com/roughtalkvr. That's betterhelp.com/roughtalkvr and start taking charge of your mental health today. Hey everyone, we're excited to announce our newest sponsor of the Rough Talk VR podcast, Mindway, a new immersive well-being app on the MetaQuest store. Not only is Mindway scientifically backed, they are so confident you will like what you try that it is free to try, with monthly, annual, and lifetime passes available for upgrades once you fall in love. Featuring meditation courses, build your own meditation options, daily mindful practices, a beautiful original soundtrack, and scientifically developed content, Mindway makes meditation easy with interactive sessions that will teach you how to meditate with an accredited mindfulness instructor, because the time commitment and learning curve shouldn't get in the way of good habits. Anytime in the past I've tried to personally meditate, I would always find my mind wandering and thinking, and I never felt like I received an actual benefit. Mindway changed all that. With beautiful environments, these guided meditation sessions are interactive, dynamic audio and visual experience, making it easier for you to learn to meditate regularly, even in a world of distractions and racing thoughts. Beyond their mindfulness meditation sessions, Mindway also offers VR ASMR experiences to help you unwind after a long day, and sleep sessions designed to help you fall or stay asleep. And they even have sessions specifically designed for managing anxiety and increasing focus. Be good to your mind. Experience Mindway. Visit the link in our show notes to find the app directly, or just go to the MetaQuest store and search Mindway. That's MINDWAY to start your meditation today.
And we are back with our thoughts on the Walkabout Mini Golf new DLC course, and I know we're going to pronounce this wrong or incorrectly again. Temple at Zerzura. Zerzura. Temple at Zerzura. I like Zerzura. You want to go with that?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
better than Zezuria. That we were saying last week.
Yeah. Temple at Zerzura. So this is a Walkabout Mini Golf course set in the Sahara Desert, very Egyptian themed. But right before we get into that, I just want to give a shout out to our Patreon subscribers on the weekly shout out tier or higher. We have some other tiers as well, so I highly recommend checking out the link to our Patreon in our show notes, the episode description. You can also find the link to our Discord as well, too. Ever popping. We had a really busy week this last week with Discord, so definitely go check out those two links, the Discord and the Patreon. But, huge shout out to our Patreon subscribers, Jake, Amelia, Crispy, and Shoes. So huge props to you guys. You guys help keep the lights on besides our...
Thank you, folks.
Of course, just listening, just watching, subscribing, commenting on YouTube, subscribing there. That stuff helps too, but some direct Patreon love absolutely helps too. And on the Patreon, and we have a tier that gives you access to our Discord channel, but right now we're giving that access to all of the tiers. So even if you join the just supporting tier, I'll bother you to go hop in our Discord. Then, we have some exclusive giveaways there just for our Patreon subscribers. And then, of course, we have some giveaways for the public in Discord as well. So besides just, engaging with other people, other VR fans, go win some games as well, too. We just did a really good one for Demio. We had one from The Last Worker. So plenty more coming, too.
If you can't tell, D Scruffles has stock in Discord.
I wish.
Heaviest plug thing I've ever heard.
Well, hey, no, it's a
good community. But you can also find us on YouTube.
Yeah, I mentioned.
And Facebook.
Pretty much everywhere.
And Instagram.
Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. Yep. So going right into our thoughts about the Walkabout Mini Golf, new DLC course, like I said, Temple at Zerzura. It takes me like 3 times to get it every time I go to say it. But like I said, it's set in the Sahara Desert, so real Egyptian theme to this. And this is one of those that, in my opinion, they've knocked it out of the park aesthetically, in the sense that the scale of it is massive. For one, you go into the overhead view and it's a freaking desert. But just the scenery itself, it's like some of the least, what I would say is that typical Walkabout blocky iconic look that I love. The desert is very smooth. It looks very high resolution in comparison to what you're usually used to with Walkabout. And you see that in like some of the statues that they have that are just freaking massive, probably like 100 times your character. Man, I just think aesthetically they crushed it on this one. And besides that, we were talking last week about like the functionality of the course. What new gameplay element are they going to bring to this? I don't know if there was any like new environmental stuff, like physics or anything, like playing upside down and stuff like that. But man, some of these holes were some of the more challenging ones that we've encountered for a DLC.
I think it was a really decent DLC. I think I'm actually, I've heard other people say it's some of the best I've seen, graphically. And
from Walkabout? Yeah. I think that.
I don't. And it sucks to say because it's almost sounding like I didn't like it. And it's like, no, I loved it. But it's like, I could probably think of a couple of courses that I might say, hey, in my opinion, I think these are graphically their best showing so far. The scale is huge. The aesthetics are great. And it's like, to criticize anything is like, it's not even criticism. It's just an opinion of, but I can't argue that the graphics are great. It's just like me personally. I was like, I've seen other stuff they've done that I might say, maybe it's just because that's more my favorite.
Well, it's like anything. It's when you have so many great example.
You show me 10 pictures, and it's like one's going to be my favorite.
Well, a musician puts out so many good songs, it's hard to pick a favorite or say that there's a single best because there's so many good ones. And it's kind of that point with Walkabout Mini Golf, too, that to say that
my God, yeah,
one course is the best at anything, that's the best with innovation of course mechanics. That's the best with graphics. That's the best with scene. It's hard to upside town. Yeah.
Upside downtown, as we call it, I think was the greatest example of using physics in that way. Like, playing upside down or playing sideways or having to play at angles. So it's like, regardless of what, and that graphically was great as well. But take away all the graphics, it's like the physics alone is what made that one shine.
Yeah, well, it's like, so in my opinion, this is one that stood out heavily aesthetically to me. I can get behind
don't get
the
me
logic.
Wrong. I thought it was graphically great. I really liked it. I got up all in close into the big cat statues and stuff. And
to me, I can see the argument for number one with this, and I'm kind of leaning on that because of the way I viewed the desert. Like, it looked so high resolution. The hot ass sun.
The sun was 100% convincing.
The statues. I looked at the building, like the resolution on the building. It really looked tight. But again, I go back to, well, if you're gonna sit here and tell me no, I think Labyrinth was better aesthetically, or 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I'm not going to sit here and die on any hill about which walkabout course was the best at anything because
the candy one could argue
Sweetopia might be
correct. Someone could easily argue that graphically was the best one I've seen.
Yeah, and I can't tell anybody arguing on any of those that they're wrong.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I still think that there was a simulation game I used to play where it might have even been called like Nile or something like that, where you build an Egyptian civilization. And that soundtrack, it just reminds me of the game from Walkabout. I swear to God, it's almost like
that's an area that Walkabout's kind of floated under the radar, that they've been really crushing it in these last couple courses.
The music?
Yeah.
It's something that's easy to take for granted, but
it's easy to miss.
As their courses keep evolving, and I think it's getting a little more attention. And let's be honest, fucking Walkabout Mini Golf's by far one of the most popular friggin' games. Period. Anywhere it goes, it's like, good luck competing with Walkabout. It's a good thing they're nice people, because if they were bullies, oh my God, man, be just crushing people left and right.
Well,
they call us coconuts for a reason.
I go back to when they, when Lucas Martell and Ryan Angle played that. They did that
game
video
together?
where they played each other's game, around in Walkabout and around.
Shows you the reality.
Yeah, it's not that competitive.
No.
They joke there's a little bit of competitive in the sense of like, wow, they're crushing it so hard. I want to, I want to stay up with them, but that's a friendly competition. Yeah, there's not at all. Thank God they don't have that type of mentality on either party,
I haven't seen it yet from anybody yet. You know?
Even when we interviewed Amanda Watson last week, we had asked a little bit about virtual desktop, and she's like, virtual desktop's a great app, a lot of respect. Like even in the developer side of,
it's so small.
Yeah, what's
the community, and do you want to be known as that person?
Exactly.
Like that's that person. Don't talk to them when you see him at the show.
Yeah.
Don't talk to them.
He's out for blood, man. He's
just a thief and a liar.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I love to see that attitude on all sides of VR, and I think Walkabout Mini Golf is a great example of it.
Mighty Coconut is a role model studio. I mean, they're definitely not an indie studio.
And so besides just the aesthetics of this course, which I agree, if you go to throw labels of best about aesthetics, again, it's going to be a long debate.
It comes down to, again, if you have one page of art to look at, that's the best looking art you've ever seen. If I give you 100 pages of art to look at, all from the same artist,
it's hard to pick a best.
Well, you will, but
beyond,
it's a harder, and 100 people could have 100 different bests.
And well, luckily for this course, beyond the aesthetics of this course, which were great, and the soundtrack, which were great, the actual course mechanics themselves, again, there was nothing. I can't think of anything that like they've never done before.
No,
there was nothing like new in terms of like, we were speculating on sand traps. Are you gonna have to shoot out of the sand with no rolling and stuff like that? There was none of that. It was pretty actual standard, just mini golf mechanics in that regard, but the way that they placed all of the objects around was really creative. There were some this was one of the more difficult DLCs we've ran into, in my opinion. My scores were terrible, but it was a lot of fun, but there's a lot of holes to stroke out on very easily, I'll say. In my opinion, I'm not the best walkabout player either. But.
No, I mean, I can't say anything because I unlocked the hard mode after the first play. So
yeah, but then the second time we played,
second time around, I got a
plus 5 or something.
No, I think it was a plus 3.
I got plus 13, dude.
Yeah, but that you say that, but there was one hole in particular where you're like, hey, remember I launched it into this pyramid, which is not part of the hole. It's part of the next hole. And you're like, you want me to do it again? And I'm like, I don't know. You really want to blow a stroke on that?
Like hole 16 at that point.
What's the point? It doesn't matter. There's only like 3 or 4 holes left. So you dropped a couple balls just screwing around in that. And then I think some other hole, it was just a let me see type of situation, and it almost worked. So you weren't really a plus 13.
Yeah, it would have been a plus 8 if I
probably
really tried
plus
hard.
1.
No, it probably would have been a plus 7 or 8. But there's a couple holes in this course that are very unforgiving, but there's a good handful of holes in this one too that if you do it right, like example, it might be shoot it down a perfect path, a perfect like trail almost, just the width of the ball basically. Where there's probably like 3 holes in this that are guaranteed holes in ones if you can do it right.
Well, we got 2 of them, even back to backs.
Yeah, that was cool. We got some
I
good
got
footage
one, and
of.
you did one.
Yeah, that was cool. We didn't do it the second time we played where we were actually recording for a video. Of course not, but we did record the shot.
So
we're not replay.
We're not going to review it, right?
In the sense of like giving it a rating.
Yeah. So I'll just say like, hey,
it's worth it
on a 1 through 10. What would you rate it?
I'd rate this one either an 8 or a 9.
Okay.
I think that's fair for this course.
You know what's messed up?
What?
They all get 8s for me just showing up.
And
then
it's only up from there.
Probably a 9 the minute I play it.
They would have to really like completely go a different direction for them to get anything less than an 8.
If I were to dissect it even further and go, so you give the course an 8 or 9, but what would you give just the aesthetics? Like just the sound score? I'd give it a 10 out of 10.
I was going to say that. Aesthetically, I'd give it a 10. Course innovation, I'd give 6 or a 7. Because, again, there was no, like, innovating new mechanics. But I think people were craving that after Upside Down.
Well, yeah, dude, yeah, you could tell.
The community was kind of like, I want a standard. So it's not the most innovative. I can't rate them a 10 out of 10 on innovation in the course. No. But I also think that's what the community wanted this time around. And then I'd say balancing all of that out, balancing the aesthetics with innovation. And then how is the actual course itself in terms of fun? I'd say an 8 or a 9 as well in that category. I'd say 9. So I'd say it balances all out to an 8 or a 9 out of 10 in total.
Perfect. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I would definitely give it a 9.
It's not the most innovative course in terms of new mechanics, but the holes are a lot of fun.
How much more new can you, how much can you add now? Yeah. Get what I'm saying? It's like you can't do zero gravity, right? They've even done some pretty amazing things, especially with Upside Downtown.
As we, like you said, as we call it, not the actual name, but
using those little markers where your ball will go faster or get launched in the air. And so they've even played with like gravity in that sense. It's like sooner or later, you're going to run out of like new tricks you can do.
And you never want to get away from that core mini golf feel that people love, You know
what I'm actually craving?
What?
A couple more courses of just like maybe a modernized version of, kind of some old school mini golf mechanics.
I've been hearing
more of the loops and the windmills, and you know what I'm saying?
I've been hearing that a lot from the community. The community after Upside Down, I was hearing that a lot. And I think that this course was a step in that direction of balancing unique aesthetics with the Egyptian vibe while also keeping it a little bit more traditional. Which I think it's one of those things that, we just got so many new mechanics in the last courses. It's like, you eat sweet every weekend, you might crave savory. Not that you like savory more.
Well, the beauty is, and we know about the whiteboard, I'm sure 1,000,000% with never seeing it with my own eyes, that course is already up there, just waiting for somebody to be like, that's the one we're going to do. I'm also starting to think, and I could be wrong, but I'm starting to think that because we got a glimpse of how it all comes together, from a time standpoint. But I'm now saying, are they actually doing multiples at the same time now?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
So they're actually going to create a backlog of like a nest of just Mighty Coconut, new courses that they can start. Because it almost seems like they're doing them once a month. Maybe once every other month.
I think maybe a little bit longer than that, but I'll say it right now. If 2 weeks go by and I don't hear Mighty Coconut in the news, I go, wow, that was quiet.
Yeah.
Something's
going on.
They're very active. Even if it's not announcing a new course, announcing a new partnership or potential for a new upcoming course, Mighty Coconut does a good job staying active. So I don't know. So I was going to say, I don't know their actual timeline besides it's active.
So I'm going to guess that they're now doing multiple games at the same time, which means that people like Don
are busy
and Edward, it's got to be a never ending system. It's got to just be like a conveyor belt of stuff. It's never going to stop.
And purely speculatively, I got to wonder is like, I go back to, I remember Andrew Bosworth from Meta, he did a AMA a couple months ago when there was a rumor about them killing off one of their prototypes. And he was like, just so you know, we have 3 headsets in research and development for one to come out. Like we kill 2 for every
But
one.
yeah, each one's specific to its own
Yeah,
function.
it's like, you have 3 teams each working on a prototype and only one's going to make it. You're going to kill 2 for every one that comes out or something. I wonder if it's the same way with courses, if they have a couple in prototypes and let's try them all out and see which one's the best. And I wouldn't be shocked. And then, all right, we got to can that one.
Again, just
speculative, 100%.
But I don't think they would waste their time programming a course to scrub it.
That's a good point.
I think that you have the creative backgrounds enough. Like, okay, a Disney Imagineer, right? You're taking something from conceptual words.
That's going to
putting it to
You're going to throw away a Disney Imagineer's concepts and work. That's hard to do.
Who already can envision this environment in a 3D.
That's a good point.
Capable. So it's like, why would you waste a minute?
That's a good point.
If the people, and that's just one of the individuals.
Although talking with Don, I also want to be, because we were talking, and he was like, inspiration hits, you gotta like, he'll grab a napkin with his wife and start jotting down the drawings right there.
Dude,
how many things do you think Don has that he doesn't even present, just conceptual in his head? So it also wouldn't surprise me if he's just pumping out concepts nonstop.
I've yet to see him do this, and some other people who I've been kind of waiting to see if they're going to sell those sketches, prints, not the originals. Jesus God, start selling those sketches. I'll see the sketches that he posts on Instagram and stuff, and it's like,
well, how about a whole book?
Dude,
a collection by Don Carlson, 100-page,
I don't see why not.
I'd pay $30 for it, whatever, $40, whatever the value, $50
for a true hardcover.
Yeah, whatever the value. I don't know what the going rate of that is.
What would make it cool if he did it would be, because you could legit do the photos or sketches. In his case, you could actually go from, if Disney law would allow it, like these were the initial sketches, and then here's the photos of the actual finished product. But what I like more is the mindset of what might have been the thought process to go into this conceptual drawing anyways. And if he could do that with Mighty Coconut things, because it's like, dude, they do some crazy stuff. They put together some unique environments and worlds. So there's a thought process involved in that. So I would definitely pay $30.
Yeah, that would be a fun little thing to have.
Which is like 44 Canadian. So you just telling everyone in Canada now, eh?
But there were some. You referenced this whole about me launching it off. This whole, I don't remember if it was whole like 15, 16. I feel like it was around there towards the end. Definitely in the second 9, where you're just placed like so high up off an elevation, and there's like these stairs that you have to knock it down to get onto
and they're ramp stairs, so they're not going to roll down, they're going to roll up, and balls can't roll up. So
there's even one time that you hit the edge, I'm talking like centimeter to the edge, and it rolled all the way back, and there's a lot of like it's a surprising distance in between each stair, so your ball can get quite the bounce. So you have to be really careful about how hard you hit it, because it's very hard for it to get so much bounce, gaining momentum by the time it hits the bottom, that it completely bounces out of bounds. But like, dude, you're high up starting, and it's a great view. So I love to go in that hole and just freaking go, how much can I launch this one? And just bang. And, last time we played it didn't go the best, but I did it the first time we ever played it. I did it a couple times. And I always love doing ridiculous shots that end up in play, and it almost happened a couple times.
It came close.
Yeah, I was like, dude, imagine that.
It almost happened last night too. Where, had it worked, it would have been friggin' amazing.
I would have had to have saved the clip of it.
Yeah,
I've had a couple.
How could
of those.
You not? Because it hit off a wall and then bounced off of like a stair and then came flying back, but then just missed the.
Well, that's how
that was pretty good.
That's how I like to play this game. So I don't like to be super competitive about it. Because
you're not betting on it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: it's so easy.
$5 a hole.
You're gonna drive yourself crazy, in my opinion, caring a bunch about your score in this game, because it's so easy for one hole to throw off your score that it's like, man, it's not worth the stress. You're not gonna enjoy it. That's me personally.
Yeah.
I like to just have fun and really push the physics to their limit. I'll say, like, let's just try to have some fun with the hole, find out what works with crazy ricochets and bouncing and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. That's the joy of Walkabout to me. It's not trying to get minus 20 or something like that. It's let's have fun, you know?
I don't know, man. It's a sin to not win. I'm
No,
kidding.
time.
It's by design though, that regardless of your score, and honestly, because I've had some phenomenal games in Walkabout.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even funny. Like wow, if this is real life, I'd be like, haha. But my mood never matters whether I got plus 15 or minus 15. It doesn't freaking matter to me.
When I think of our best moments in Walkabout, I don't even know what our score was, good or bad, in that moment. Happened. Exactly. So that's why I do those crazy things of like, all right, shit, you want to see me launch it? It's like, I don't care about my score. I care about my score one time to unlock the hard course, which you can even do by just finding all the,
Yeah, and I usually
balls.
Just blind beginner's luck. I usually have really good luck with unlocking it the first go around. It's when I start thinking like, oh, I know this hole. I know how. I remember what this, and then you don't do it the same.
We did way better with hole in ones our first time around.
My only complaint with the Walkabout courses.
What's that?
And I will fight this one forever.
What's that?
If I hit you with the club, it doesn't make a sound.
I know. I do want that. Or a high five or something.
The high five would be cool. Little.
But no, definitely if I hit you with a club,
I don't know why. I mean, I get it. You're not condoning violence, and you're not in the Walkabout course to have violence. But
we're just so
even something comedic,
It's because
something.
The Golf Plus POW was one of the biggest VR selling moments to us. And I know that sounds so stupid, but we were still newer to VR.
That was just a Unity thing, right?
We go into Top Golf, as it's named at the time. Top Golf with Pro Putt, now named Golf Plus. And at that time, if you hit your partner with the club, a POW with comic book, like the spikes around it and everything, would pop up.
Dude, that was the greatest thing I'd ever seen.
Oh my God, to this day.
Like a nice touch.
Yeah. I wish that there was more of that.
Wish there was something.
Because that was epic. And even when we brought it up to Ryan Angle, because he was one of our first ever interviews, and we brought it up to him, and he almost was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think that was a big deal. It was just a random Unity we threw in, and
it's a huge deal,
and
sir.
I think they ended up
it's a huge deal.
I think they ended up taking it out too, and it's like, man, stuff like that just adds to immersion so much. So if I will agree with you on that one.
Yeah, that would be my only, like, if I could
give me a POW.
If I could be Lucas for one day, it would be I want a POW in all my games, and I want it now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. I'm going in 5 minutes.
Meta should just add it by default to the Meta avatar interaction.
We give you the option to disable the
POW. POW.
That's funny.
Dude, we were in tears.
But I do get why they don't harbor. You're not going there to.
They're not condoning violence and hitting people with
bust
clubs.
knuckles. Yeah.
But no, they did a great job with the actual
funness
of
the course. Crushing it. So I'm not shocked anymore by him. That's the thing. It's like,
so let's do it like this. Do you give it a recommended or a not recommended tag? Recommended $3.99 DLC. Is it worth the money? Do you recommend it, Stratus?
Yes, and I'd also recommend, like, if they did a subscription service where they're like, we're gonna give 12 DLCs a year, and you pay us $36 now, or $48 if you take it every day. I would pay the $36 in advance. You
were even told Don that, I think, when you interviewed him, like, I will prepay.
Well, because
I know they're going to deliver.
There's a level of minimum expectation that I've come to appreciate from Walkabout Mini Golf. So I trust you with my money. I'll trust you with my money before I even know what you're going to do. Because again, at the minimum, at the worst you could ever give me will be an 8 just for showing up. And then if I turn it on and it works, it's a 9. That's just and it only gets better from there. So yes.
Yeah. Recommended on my end too.
Recommend it.
There's been yet to be a DLC that I would say is not worth $3.99.
No.
They actually introduced bundles now too. So now you can buy bundles of DLCs, which was inevitable. I think when you
have that many.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's been a single DLC that if you walked up to me and said, is that fun? Is it worth it? I would say skip it.
No.
Every single DLC brings something worthy to the table.
This one brings the heat. This one in Egypt.
Yeah, you can, dude, when you look up at that sun, you see I
actually recommend
heat rays around it.
I recommend that you have someone who's in your room while you're playing this hold a hairdryer to your head so you can really appreciate the value of that
heat.
hot sun.
No, and I get your point, like you said about I don't know if you'd give it the best.
No,
but that's not a
it's not
detriment.
the worst. It's not the best, but not one of them is the worst, and not one of them is the best.
That's the point you're making. It's not
Correct.
a detriment to this course. It's just that the other ones are so good too. I will say though that I am leaning towards it's in the top because that initial when you go in, and I keep harping on the desert, but like the sand, that initial view when you go in, when you go from top view to, it's like
I'll play devil's advocate on that. How do you say it best? Well, how do you mess up sand?
Oh, here's the thing.
Sand, dude.
I could
go on to the horizon's end. Look at that.
Yeah, but typically Walkabout has a little bit
Labyrinth? Come on, man. I mean, you want apples to apples. Pull back and look at Labyrinth.
Well, Labyrinth is probably they said that this is the biggest course, but Labyrinth felt bigger to me.
Labyrinth, I think it's because there's more, and that's where we probably get a better appreciation if there was more
space in between each hole.
Yeah. You could really appreciate the scale. I mean, I flew around it. It takes a while to fly around it, so it is big. But for some reason, when I look at Labyrinth, it looks absolutely massive.
Well, I think it's because like holes like 12 to 18 in this one are pretty close together. It's like boom, 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 boom. You look at it when you go to that top view that shows all of the holes.
And then 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea to me looked to be small.
Oh, 20,000 Leagues. We commented it during the...
But how do you fit 18 holes into
a submarine, which they did a great job. And even though 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was a smaller scale course, aesthetically, that was one that you brought up as an example of one that would rival this one. They killed it aesthetically in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So I think it's, to our listeners, I'm sorry, it's probably pretty obvious what we're going to give each course that comes out. Just historically, Walkabout and Mighty Coconut have not yet disappointed.
Not since day one.
We're probably always going to give the recommended, it's worth it, spend it, buy it, seal of approval.
Pre-buy it.
Yeah. I mean, it should be pretty obvious.
We're not the only ones either. There's plenty of people who would, they say it all the time. Take my money.
I don't want anybody listening to be like, man, they hype up that they're going to review a Walkabout course. But yeah, you can probably already know what we're going to say. I agree.
You can't review one of their courses.
It's very obvious. It's going to be good. It's going to deliver it. It's going to be worth the money, but we're still going to talk about it. But it's pretty easy to... If I was a betting man, I would probably bet that that's going to be my opinions on their next course and their next course and their next course.
Do you know how out of their way bad they'd have to make something for the community to not like it?
That's what I'm saying. They would have to really, they would have to mess up.
How's this? They're so good at what they do. I bet you they could say, we're going to release the worst golf course ever. We're going to call it Junkyard. It's terrible. And people would still buy it.
Call it Shitland.
And they'd still love it. Shit Pit. Welcome to Shit Pit course.
People be like, this is the best course ever. My kids love it.
Dude, it's Walkabout. So they'd figure out a way to take nothing and still make it fun. I guarantee it. They're not to be messed with. Again, they're that small handful. We said, this is your AAA studios. Respect it. Or else they're coming for you.
Yeah, there's very few studios that, I feel the amount of confidence that I feel when Walkabout puts out news that they're releasing something. It's like, and the thing is, it always functions good. That's something that's very important to say.
There's no jank.
When the course comes out, I never have any glitches.
You can't.
I'll give them a huge credit.
Golf game with jank is not a good thing.
No,
there's a reason why sports games don't do well in flat screen anymore and shit, because there's always some sort of issue with
physics.
Yeah,
and that's something that Walkabout has down tight. Is their physics with
they're good.
Yeah, so
I like me some Walkabout.
So nonetheless, I hope you guys, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. If so, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, subscribe on YouTube, on your favorite podcast platform. Stay tuned for Wednesday with a Breachers review, and a little birdie told me we might have something fun on Friday as well.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Ooh, So stay tuned and check you out Wednesday. Ciao, ciao.